Yesterday when I was at the store, you'll get it later. Well, hey there. Welcome back. As you know, I try to present things that are sort of homogenized in a way that makes them general and applicable to most people. I'm not really of the habit of, yesterday when I was at the store. If I do have some sort of situation or interaction, I reflect on it first, research it, think about it, and think about how I can present it to you in a way that is applicable to you. And even though I do strive to sort of homogenize stuff before you get to it, I do get feedback that people do like the personal connection because they are trying to make a personal connection, and I appreciate making a personal connection to you. So having said that, I did have something happen to me, gave me a little mini epiphany that I thought I would share with you, and perhaps you can apply to your life as well. I live about 6 or 7 miles away from a lake. It's really a great lake is what it is. One of the routes I like to take is to ride my bike down to the lake and then along a rather long path that stays adjacent to the lake the entire time. The entire round trip is about 27 miles. Like most people, I have some sort of software on my phone that tracks my progress and how long it takes and how far I've gone, and even plots my entire course on a map. And it's that plotting on a map that gave me the eventual epiphany. I looked at the map and I thought, wow, why don't I just go straight down to the lake in this way, like literally straight that way, and pick this trail up here and then go? I thought, well, why am I going way out of my way to pick up the trail way over there? Like I'm adding like miles to my journey by and that's when it hit me. You see, the map view was a very cold, efficient look at the trail that told me, well, the fastest way to do this, the most efficient way to get where you're going would be to take this route. And it indeed would shave off a number of miles and in many minutes. But if you're taking the actual bike ride, you realize you take these twists and turns and you veer this way and that way because you're avoiding a lot of dangerous traffic. You're favoring roads that do have a bike lane, and you're entering the path by the lake at a place that is more advantageous. And part of that advantageousness is that it does make for a longer ride. Because, one of the reasons to ride and to exercise is to sort of challenge yourself instead of, cutting every corner. What hit me was the stark difference in what those two perspectives presented. It was the same brain. It was the same person. It was me. My entirely different perspective gave me an entirely different outcome and what I thought was best. This is the part where you go, okay, here we go, right? The analytical part of my brain kicked in and said, efficiency, shortest trip, pretty lines on a map. And the part of my brain that wants to enjoy the ride and maximize it doesn't really see it on a map. It sees it as, I'm going to take a left here, or, ooh, let's go down that way. I'm not going to insufferably apply what we just talked about to, 1,000 metaphorical things about your life. I'll just do it for a few, okay? Sorry. But there are some things that we can apply this to, right? There are some analogs, parallels, etc. that are very similar to this. If you look at the map of your life, right? Well, let's get back to Alchemy for Life. If you look at the map of your life and you go, well, I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go to school, and then I'm going to leave, and I'm going to go this way and this way, because that seems to be the best thing to do. The person looking at the map is floating above it and not in the map. They're not the person who is taking the journey or who has taken the journey. And that's dangerous. And that can give you a very different perspective, just like I had a different perspective on my little bike trip. Because if you're looking down at the map, you're not going to see the traffic. You're not going to see, oh, this way just never feels right, or this is too bumpy, or this works this way, or I kind of want to take the long way. That would be cool. That's why I'm doing this, to take the long way. So think about that parallel when you're planning. And one of my episodes is steering from afar. So take a look at that one for something very similar to what we just talked about. But let's also create an analog for the map looking person and the actual bike riding person. Let's create an analog and say those are two separate people. Where can we go with that? Well, what if the bike riding person is you in your career and the map looking person is a career counselor, your boss, or even a loved one? They can all look at that sort of coldly and detached. Even someone who cares very much about you can still be coldly detached from it because they don't have to live through it. They don't have to experience it. I don't know why you do that. Why do you do that? Oh, I think that this would be a much better path for you to take. It's much more direct. It's much more this or that or the other thing. They don't think in terms of first person experience. So what we're really doing here is comparing first person experience to third person experience. Just understanding that this other person, whether it's you or another physical human being, just understanding that this other person has that perspective and has a different way to look at what you're doing can help you to understand why you might be at odds with that person, even if that person is you. And when you reflect on your day and you go in your planner or whatever and you look back and you go, wow, this is not where I wanted to be, right? This is not where I'm supposed to be, according to that thing I drew out 12 years ago, according to what I told my wife, according to where I thought I was supposed to be. Well, the person who thought you were supposed to be here is not the person who is you, who is here, who is going through the paths and decides to turn left and decides to add a mile or so because it's just more fun. So think about that the next time that you or another person assesses your path. I'm not saying that so that you're adversarial to that person, even if they're you. I'm saying so that you can understand the difference in perspectives and maybe jump back and forth between the perspectives and maybe say, oh, okay, I kind of see how adjusting the map a little bit here might be kind of interesting, and then jump back into perspective of being in the trenches, the person actually riding the bike, the person who is on the path, you, the person listening right now. So your homework, if you choose to accept it, is A, think about those two people in your life, you, the person who's on the path, and that other person, whether it is your boss or someone you know or someone advises you, or even yourself from another perspective. So, because sometimes you're very hard on yourself, I could imagine. Not that I have any experience with that. And 2, did I say A? I guess B. Switch places with that individual. So if it's just you, and this might be confusing, if you are the person on the path and also looking at the map, switch places. So when you are looking at the map of your life, remember what it felt like to be in the trench and actually do the thing. This can also help you to fulfill promises and not make ones you can't fulfill. And also switch the path person with the map person so that the map person is now in the trenches and riding the bike and going, oh, whoa, okay, I see what this kind of promise means. I see why we adjust the path here. And if that person is a separate person from you, then perhaps you can explain to them better why you do something and allow them to go into your shoes. And then you going into their shoes can help you to understand why they suggest you go a direction that doesn't make a lot of sense, or one at least that you don't want to, or one that you find is not as advantageous as the other way. As always, a very tiny idea, a tiny little binary of, hey, this thing and the other thing. Sometimes it's worth expanding, and I think this was one of them. So thank you so much for listening. I do hope you do the homework, and I'm always out here when you need me. Thanks.
Living life every day, late at night.
you for listening. If you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate a like, share, or subscribe. Feel free to reach out, and better days.
Not okay, all I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days.